at the works that set up a big thing where you could go to interviews, where you'd be told what monies you would receive, what training was available, how long you would get paid for, which was 52 weeks a year of training you would get at full wages. Minus, it was better than what we're on, you would get your full wages minus your tax. So for a year you were going to be on even better wages than you were, plus you'd have your money. And that money at £7,200 severance pay was still the best that was ever negotiated in the steel industry. And everybody who'd been there 6 months to before their retirement would get that £7,200 as a severance payment, and then you would get on top of that your redundancy payment, which was based on your years there, which in my case was only 7 years because you didn't get your apprenticeship in. So the redundancy payment for the likes of me wasn't much. It was for some lads, but you've always got to have cut-off points on that. But there was some really egregious stories I thought about that time. Like for instance, so a guy who'd just come there 6 months ago would get the 7,200. One guy, and he was 65 just before the agreement was signed, and he got no money. And I always thought that was just terrible. It was an awful thing to happen.
We were lucky. We were in a generation of early 30s. There was 3 generations of people. There was the young people who had just started working at works, and they just started the apprenticeship. They had no experience, so they didn't know what would happen. We were in our mid-30s with lots of experience, but young enough, we had young families, you had to go out and find a job somehow. So those people were fairly ambitious, started businesses, moved away. So a lot of people moved away, although some families stayed at home, but the main wage earner, he had to move away, maybe offshore or down to Teesside to work. And then the older generation, who unfortunately had been well paid, highly paid, skilled men, just couldn't find a job. And I think there'd be a lot of people in that age group, late 50s to early 60s, who never ever worked again. And I think it was some people, there was sadness, there was bitterness, there was fear, because most people like myself had never worked anywhere else but the steelworks, and there'd been people there a lot longer than me who all of a sudden had to go to the door office, and they'd never been to the door office. So there was a lot of fear, and it was a fear of the unknown.
The demolition of the works, which carved a massive hole in the heart of the town, was very thorough, and even the most imposing and architecturally important building in the town, the company offices, were lost. Regeneration in the 1990s went only some way to repair the damage done. There's no permanent museum devoted to the history of the steelworks, apart from some pots that were used to transport molten pig iron from the blast furnaces to the steel plant. The influence of the steelworks on Consett and its family over the generations has been quietly glossed over. Even the development plan implemented to rebuild the town, Project Genesis, has a year zero name, which suggests there was nothing worthwhile before.
Like wildfire burns up the town. The works is closing down.
There's been tremendous amount of changes, especially on the environment.
Well, for one thing, it's cleaner. When the works was on and all that red dust was on, it was serious. And even if it wasn't red dust, you still got the muck and whatnot of it.
Consett itself now is becoming more like a market town. A lot of new housing being put, a lot of extensions onto the existing villages where they have been expanding out, good quality housing, but a lot of people now use Consett as a base to live, but commute to Durham, Newcastle, Sunderland.
Well, I think Consett's changed a great deal since 1980. It's always a big question everybody asks, is it a better place than it was in the 1960s? It depends what happened to you after the closure, but we've got a lot of unemployment now. The company site is still undeveloped. We've never, as we said, we never brought a big employer in. There's not the social life in Consett. A lot of pubs and other places have closed because of the lack of support by the steelworkers. But it is a better place to live environmentally. But most people who live there commute. So although the population's grown, the amenities can't support the new population. There's nothing to keep people in Consett work-wise apart from several small companies, plenty of industrial estates. So it depends which aspect of Consett you look at. But you talk to some people, and especially the older generation who would still be in employment, and they wish the steelworks were still there. Probably the younger generation who have never known a steelworks are quite happy to live in a clean environment.
Coming back, it was like coming back to a new town. But I think now there's been a regrowth of Consett, what with new stores opening, a lot of old stores unfortunately closing down, the smaller shops. But I see a real sort of growth within Consett as it is now. And I think it's for the good, and I think it will eventually improve within time.
I think people need to understand the background from which they come from. And I think most people do have an interest in history and local heritage. I do myself, and I think it's something that people should always remember.
Industry in Consett and the people who worked and lived there had an impact on the world. It is important to remember and be proud of their achievements, not only for those people, but for future generations.
Hear my drumming heart, it's a big bass drum, beating just for you through the streets I run. The reason's clear and I don't tell lies. Can't hide this love, it's something from up high. Know everybody here, they're like my own, and for better, not for worse, this is my home. You know I love this place, and I know this place like the nose of my face, like the back of my hand. It's my one true home. You've got to understand. You know I love this place.
Well, when it was first founded, it was called Durham Iron Company, and if they weren't there, you wouldn't have Consett here.
There was a man called Mr. Nicholson, and he found there was people digging up holes for finding coal, and he found two types of coal, and he sold them.
I know that it was a main it was the main job in Consett, and everyone depended on it for jobs.
I know that it opened in 1840 and it shut in 1980.
They had over 6,000 workers, and when it closed, lots of people were jobless.
What was it called then? It was the incinerator or something. No, something like that on top of the hill, and it's really hot, and that's what produced the red dust.
Some of the sheep were staying pink when it closed down, and if you left your washing out, it would all go pink, and you had to wash it again and everything.
As well as the steelworks, there was also the mines, and I think it'd be very dangerous to work down there, and you didn't get paid a lot.
If I had to work down a pit, I wouldn't really want to. It was only if I had to. Say if I was low on money, I would work down there, but if I had a choice, I wouldn't.
it was like a very like hard working place, and they were like really cruel, and they didn't get that much sort of pay.
I think it would be nice to have lots of like people having jobs, but it wouldn't be nice for the red dust.
You know I love this place, and I know this place like the nose of my face, like the back of my hand. It's my one true